Hello, my dear fellow human. I'm currently working on a different video, and it's a think piece or an analysis, things that I notice and love about the Dragon Prince. But today, I'm here to remind you that I'm just a simple human girl who likes complaining all the time. So, it's just a quick, friendly chat. Let's get into it. I'm watching this scene in Finnegrin's wake, and I finally feel like I have the words to fully verbalize why Finnegrin's death felt so underwhelming. But before we get there, I did want to talk about this in my review of the previous seasons, but I stopped the script on that when I realized that my complaints about Rayla were taking up too much time. So that's actually how my Rayla is a plot device video came about. And then I was inspired to talk about other things as they were being released. And now we're here. So basically, I have not finished that, but I do have thoughts on the previous seasons that I want to share. And because I move like I'm connected to the Earth Primal, they do feel like a huge undertaking at the moment, but this particular topic that I want to talk about feels relatively self-contained. So let's talk about Domina Profundis and Finnegrin. I feel like Domina Profundis was scrapped out of the show. It is blasphemy. Although I do want to give a quick disclaimer that I don't know what it takes to make a show, so all my thoughts are just based on observations as a consumer. I do not understand the ongoings behind production. Okay, so with that said, I feel like I can say it with my whole chest now. I feel like Domina Profundis was scrapped out of season 5. And I'm gonna start with the reflection deep below. This is when we officially meet her because it was released prior to the season, so it can be assumed that it was used to set up book 5. In this story, we hear about how her friendship with Subeya grew distant after a Leviathan that was Domina's friend was killed, and it seems like she feels like it was her negligence that led to her Leviathan friend dying, so she turned her back on Subeya and decided to remain the protector of the depths from then on. And that broke Subeya's heart, but the point here is that we are establishing a history between these two characters, even if no part of that is actually addressed in the main story. And I mean, having read this, you can feel the tension between Subeya and Domina when they meet, but that's it. If you have no context, I feel like that greeting would be normal at best, or indifferent at worst, considering that we only have Subeya greeting Rex Ignis as a reference. But anyway, my point is that I feel like Domina was being introduced, and I thought that meant that her character would be significant. But okay, supplementary material is not the show. Fair. Let's talk about flashbacks. When the trio is at the Stormspire, Ezran reveals that Domina Profundis told him the secret of Aaravos' prison. You know what this foolish girl thought? I thought we're gonna get a flashback to that scene that ended prematurely. But girl, it was a good thing that I was not holding my breath. And then in episode 8, we are hearing Finnegrin's sob story about why he wants Domina dead, and I thought, for sure, this time we're getting a flashback. So there's that. But that sounds a lot like me just being disappointed that she didn't get enough screen time. But the thing is, I think she was actually supposed to have screen time. Now, again, I don't actually understand show production. I don't know what went wrong here and why her role was set aside. I'm honestly tempted to say that it was probably a budget constraint because one of my other gripes with season 5 is actually the flashback that we did get. And okay, Raylan fans, put the pitchforks down. Or you know what? Do as you like. But this is my opinion, okay? That flashback was not really necessary because the series is actually made to be binged. And if it was really necessary, I don't think it needed to be so long. But again, maybe that's just me. It was good for a moment, but then that moment overstayed its welcome, in my opinion. But this is just one of the things that makes me think that it's a budget thing because it's easier to reuse footage than it is to animate new one, and it is much easier to animate Finnegrin simply chatting about a confrontation than it is to actually show it. So, okay, I know I've been complaining, but now let's get to what I think the story actually wanted to do. I think it was actually supposed to be Domina Profundis who ended Finnegrin. If we go back to the beginning to Deep Below, we do get this background on her distant relationship with Subeya, with whom she was once close to, but I think the point of that story is actually to set up the fact that Domina does not leave the oceans because she must protect the depths from something. That something being Finnegrin. Finnegrin tells us that he is not supposed to sail the seas a certain distance offshore, or Domina's gonna throw hands on sight. But the thing is, we do see him sail the seas with no consequence. I think Domina Profundis was set up to finish the job then and there, and it's not just the reflection in Finnegrin's monologue that makes me think that. Take a look at this. Need I say more? Okay, I hear you, grumpy baitlings. It's just promotional material. It is an artistic depiction. Just look at the other posters. They don't always reflect an exact scene. Okay, fair. I would be willing to give that the benefit of the doubt if it wasn't for the Siren Stone. Now, let's go back to the first scene of season 5. In this episode, we are setting a precedent that the way to summon Domina Profundis is with a beacon. Now, look at that poster. Tell me that doesn't look like a beacon that is summoning Domina Profundis. And okay, I hear you, grumpy baitling, artistic depiction, I get it. But now take a look at this. That to me looks very intentional. I think Callum was trying to summon Domina Profundis. Finnegrin was right in front of him. And while I'm at it, Callum, he was right in front of you.
You missed! How could you miss? He was 3 feet in front of you!
Do it yourself. And I mean, okay, I get it. Not everyone is okay with having blood on their hands. That's fair. But my point is that I think he is intentionally sending a beacon, and this is not his lightning being redirected as a result of the freezing spell, because if we keep watching this scene, Callum actually activates his spell first, and then Finnegrin's begins to take effect. So I think a possible concern here could be like, what about Soren and his role in getting Elmer to turn against Finnegrin? That was pretty crucial for his character. I think there's still room for that to happen and for Domina Profundis to arrive at the nick of time and terminate Finnegrin like we were told she would do if he sailed into her domain. So my point here is to say that I think Domina was set up to play an actual role in the story, but for one reason or another, that didn't come to be. And that sucks. There's no particular point in chatting about this now because what's done is done. Whether Domina was set up to confront Finnegrin does not change the fact that he was just thrown overboard. And I mean, it's not a terrible death that he was swallowed by a leviathan that he summoned and planned to catch, but it did feel a little bit anticlimactic. And again, that's because I think we were led to believe that it was supposed to end differently. But alas, I just wanted to get my thoughts out here because it crossed my mind as I was writing another script, and honestly, I was kind of hitting a roadblock with that one, so I just jumped ship to this one, which is much shorter and it requires a lot less brain power. So, I hope you'll let me know your thoughts in the Wicked depths below. Were you expecting to see Domina play a bigger role in season 5 based on the reflection or the promotional material? What did you think her role would be? And what are your thoughts on Finnegrin? I look forward to reading all your thoughts. If you like this video, hit the pretty like button, subscribe if you want to join this glimmering moon nexus, and hit the bell if you want to be notified whenever the stars align. But until then, Tenebras post Lux.